Hello again, guys, to my second live stream of today. And this is gonna be a whole new deck. So I'm gonna put the rat deck away for a while now, and we're gonna focus on a mono black life deck, which I've made. And the commander of this life deck is Vito, Charmer of the Dusk Rose, which reads, whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Pretty good stuff. And creatures you control gain lifelink until the turn. He's a really powerful commander, but I think he's a bit overkill for this deck that I made, and you're probably wondering, how is he overkill? Because this is a life deck, isn't it? John Wrath, so yeah. Yeah, but hear me out. I'm gonna try to explain to you. I'm considering this guy instead for my life deck. And this guy has Death Touch, and he's got something called Exploit, which means when this creature enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature. When the DC ended Vizier exploits a creature, you may search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Yeah. Because I'm really dependent on some cards showing up for this deck to work, so if I have a tutor type commander, which this guy is, then problem solved, man. Yeah. And there's also another problem with this deck. I got too many lands in here. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 1, 2, 3. So 43 lands. That's a bit much, man. So I need to reduce this to 36 approximately. So that gives me about 7 lands I can remove here. Yeah. But we're also gonna look at the other cards which still are in this deck, and we're gonna look at them very shortly. Let me just grab something to drink first. Yeah, I'm continuing my urge session here. It's my soda from before today, and yeah, uh, it's this. We only got it in Norway though, so but please leave a comment below if you got it in your country as well. Yeah. So hello to all you new viewers, 14 viewers. That's pretty impressive. So as mentioned, I got this commander now in my mono black deck, and I got 43 lands, which is a bit much. So I'm gonna try to change out my commander. There's nothing wrong with this commander, but it is a bit overkill to what I want to do with this deck right here. So, and you're gonna understand why in a moment. So instead, I want to make this my new commander, because this has a tutor effect. You sacrifice a creature, and any creature will do. And you can search your library for a card, reveal it, of course, and put it into your hand. Or do you have to reveal the card? It doesn't say you have to do that, actually. Wow. So you don't have to reveal the card? You may search your library for a card, put it into your hand. Actually, it says nothing about me revealing the card. Wow. Strange. Okay. Oh well. But I have 43 lands. So let's look at the other cards, shall we? On this deck. And I may actually remove some of these cards as well. We'll see. This is an instant card. It's called Grave Purge. It's pretty good because you get to put any number of creature cards on top of your library, and you also get to draw a card. So that's awesome. I can't believe this is just a common card. It's just epic stuff. And yeah. And it only costs 3 as well, so that's that's amazing. So no, I'm not gonna remove that card. No. One of the best cards ever made, Sorcery, Toxic Deluge. You've seen it before, and I love this card to bits. It's you pay life to destroy creatures. Yeah. Or you don't destroy them, they get X amount of life minus. So, and you pay life, and you only pay 3, and you can remove creatures on the whole board if you want. So this is, of course, awesome. I got Grey Merchant of Asphodel. You've probably seen this guy before. He's been around. Yeah. But what makes this guy cool is that when Grey Merchant of Asphodel enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. I used to have this as my commander, but then I found out that I can't have him as a commander because he isn't a legendary. So, yeah, so I had to remove him. Oh well, nice try, Joldrath. Nice try. But I can just have lots of devotion to black and get lots of life with this guy. So he's awesome, and I love him to bits, man. Next creature in here is Massacre Worm. So when this guy enters the battlefield, creatures your opponent control get -2/-2 until the end of turn. Which is awesome in itself, but whenever a creature an opponent control dies, that player loses 2 life. So this can be a board wipe if my opponents have lots of low life creatures. Yeah. So gotta have that. Gotta keep that. So as you can start to see now, this deck is pretty expensive. Another expensive card, Doom Whisperer, Flying Trample, pay 2 life, Surveil 2. So yeah, look at the top cards of your library, then put any number of them into your graveyard and the rest on the top of your library in any order. So lots of possibilities with this card right here. It's just, yeah, nothing more to say really. It's a bit expensive though, but who cares? We also got a creature here called Dread. So this guy has got fear. Whenever a creature deals damage to you, that means me, the player, destroy the creature. When Dread is put into a graveyard from anywhere, shuffle it into your owner's library. So, yeah. It doesn't get any better than that, man. And, yeah, it's a bit expensive, of course, but this is a deck about just having all the most awesome creatures and just having fun with my opponents. Archfiend of Despair. Your opponents can't gain life. And it's a flying and it costs 8. So yeah. Pretty expensive stuff, I must say. But with my commander, I can just destroy a creature and pick up lands if I don't have enough lands. So. It's pretty cool. And then we got this guy. You've probably seen him as well in many decks. It's Sir Conrad the Grim. Whenever another creature dies or a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere another other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, that's a handful. Sir Conrad the Grim deals 1 damage to each opponent. Yeah. So you can just have lots of creatures die and your opponents lose life. I think that's what it basically means. Each player mills a card, so I can also have my players mill cards. And then we got this, the Black Sun Zenith. Put X1 -1 counters on each creature. Shuffle Black Sun Zenith into its owner's library. And I get to choose how many counters I want to give my creatures. Yeah. So it's essentially a board wipe. Yeah. Morbid Curiosity, which is pretty good. As an additional cost to cast Morbid Curiosity, sacrifice an artifact or a creature. Draw cards equal to the converted mana cost of the sacrificed permanent. Yeah. So I can just sacrifice a creature. Let's say I sacrifice Conrad here, and I get to draw 5 cards. Yeah. Pretty cool. Bubbling Muck. Until the end of turn, whenever a player taps a swamp for mana, it produces an additional. Yeah. So I get to produce an additional black mana. I guess I need to keep this because, well, this is a very expensive deck, so I need to have a lot of mana to pay for all this junk that I have in here. But there we go. Bubbling Muck. Yeah. Another creature which also comes with a board wipe. So you get 2 for 1 with this one. It's got flying and Reaver Demon. When Reaver Demon comes into play, if you played it from your hand, destroy all non-artifact, non-black creatures that can't be regenerated. It's a bit expensive though, of course, but you would expect that from this deck right here, which I've made. Nightmare, an old classic, which has gotten new artwork. It's a flying, and Nightmare's power and toughness are equal to the number of swamps you control. So if I have 4 swamps, then it's 4/4. The thunder of its hooves beats dreams into despair. So yeah. It's pretty cool. And it's a nightmare, so. Well. I may throw this out though. I'm not sure. I think I need some more mana in this deck probably, so I'll probably look into some mana, some card draw maybe instead of this. Enchanted creature or land enchanted permanent has at the end of your turn sacrifice this permanent and attach Nettlevine Blight to a creature or land you control. Yeah, so it's you basically just throw it in there and it basically just slowly destroys your opponent's permanents. Yeah. But it's a bit annoying, and I don't want to annoy my friends too much, so maybe I'll just remove this and we'll see. Temporal Extortion. It's awesome. It only costs 4. When you play Temporal Extortion, any player may pay half his or her life, run it up. If a player does, counter Temporal Extortion. But if nobody does, then I take an extra turn after the turn I've already taken. So pretty fun, pretty cool, pretty awesome card to have. Yeah. This is an older version of Lifelink. It's an aura enchant creature. Whenever an enchanted creature deals damage, you gain that much life. So, but it only costs 1. So pretty cool. And look at this guy. He's at the dentist. Oh well. Okay. I think nobody found that funny but me, but okay. Yeah. Indulgent Tormentor. Flying at the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card unless target opponent sacrifices a creature or pays 3 life. Okay. I'm not too sure about this, dude. Well, it lets me draw cards, so I can just keep them, I guess. And then we have Invoke Despair, which is sort of in tune with what I'm trying to do with this deck here. Target opponent sacrifices a creature. If they can't, they lose 2 life, and you draw a card. Then repeat this process for an enchantment and a planeswalker. Yeah. Pretty awesome stuff. Bola's Citadel. It's a bit hard to read this card for some reason. I'm not sure why. But I'm going to try to do it. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. So that means I play with my top card revealed. Or no, it doesn't say that. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. So I may do that, but nobody else may do it. You may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than pay its mana cost. Okay, so that's cool. And I get to sacrifice 10 non-land permanents, and each opponent loses 10 life. So pretty powerful card, this, and yeah, it's an artifact as well. So ambitious cost. Here we got one of these. It's you draw 3 cards and you lose 3 life. So nice to get to draw a little bit of cards as well, I think. Soul Ring, I add 2 generic mana. I don't know if it's called generic mana, but there it is. And it only costs 1 to get it out there. Travel's Amulet. Yeah, so it only costs 1, and I can sacrifice it and search my library for a basic land and reveal it and put it into my hand and shuffle my library. So this is pretty cool. It's just a way to get more lands and make the deck faster. Phyrexian Arena. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. So pretty self-explanatory why this has to be in there. Yeah. It's good to draw more cards, always. Bringer of the Last Gift. This guy says, yeah. When Bringer of the Last Gift enters the battlefield, if you cast it, each player sacrifices all other creatures they control. Then each player returns all creature cards from the graveyard that weren't put there this way to the battlefield. Okay, so you exchange creatures. You take all the creatures in the battlefield and exchange them with all the creatures in the graveyard. And that goes for everybody. So Diabolic Tutor. It's a tutor, a bit expensive one on that, but it's a tutor nonetheless. Search your library card and put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. So the same effect as my potential new commander. Yeah, but disguised as a sorcery this time. Another way to get more lands into the field: sacrifice Banished Heart, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Put them into the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Awesome. Gonna keep that as well. Target player draws cards equal to half the number of cards in their library and loses half their life. Round up each time. Wow. Okay. So, yeah. Pretty powerful stuff. And this guy is peering into the abyss. Grim Discovery. It's really cool. You get to choose one or both. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, which is nice, and return target land card from your graveyard to your hand. I don't know if the last one is... but if somebody removes my land, then probably, yeah. Now comes one of the main reasons this deck has been created. And it's this one. Exquisite Blood, it says. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. Yeah. So having this card sort of makes this commander a bit redundant, because well, it's the opposite, but still. Yeah. And I'm going to show you a neat little trick a bit later. Repeat the following process X times, and X is like that. So if I pay 4, then that's the general cost, and that's the X. So if I pay 4, then I repeat it 2 times. Each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. Pretty cool. Pretty awesome. Target player draws 3 cards and loses 3 life. So yeah. I need a little bit more of this, man, to make this a good deck, but I think I'm getting there. I'm gonna remove some lands, so... yeah. And then we have this guy, which is a Planeswalker. It's a nice little dude. Obnixilis Reignited, yeah. So, lots of stuff and fun stuff you can do with this guy here. You draw a card and you lose 1 life. Destroy target creature, which is cool. And target opponent gets an emblem with whenever a player draws a card, you lose 2 life. And I have this emblem right here. So if I pay 8, not mana, but like this guy's life here, then they get this. So, and I don't think an emblem can be removed. So yeah, pretty cool. That's sort of a 2-for-1 card. I can't have all expensive cards in here, so I have to have some of these as well. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Draw a card. So yeah, 2-for-1 card there. But it's pretty cool because I get to return a creature card from graveyard to hand, and I get to draw a card. So not too bad, not too shabby. Pestilence, which is another type of board wipe at the end of any turn. If there are no creatures in play, bury Pestilence. Pestilence deals 1 damage to each creature and player. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. So there's going to be a lot of damage on this board. Then I have this. I can put a charge counter on it and pay 2. So it costs 0 to get it out there. But if I pay 6, then I got 3 on it. So that means add 3 for each charge counter on a Overflowing Chalice. So yeah, so that would mean 3 mana, extra mana. So that's pretty cool. And it's also nice to put a dice on here so you remember it's 3. So you just put a normal 6-sided die and you dial it into 3 and you put it on the card. Nice to know. Each opponent loses X life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. Pretty awesome. Yeah, and it fits the theme of this deck perfectly. Twilight Prophet. So yeah, as you can see, this is a lot more expensive, this deck, than the red deck I showed you earlier. In a different stream, yeah, earlier today. Flying, and this has Ascend, so if you control 10 or more permanents, you get the City's Blessing for the rest of the game. So yeah, and permanents can be lands and creatures and enchantments and artifacts, but not spells like sorceries or instances. So at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have the City's Blessing, reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. Each opponent loses X life and you get X life, where X is that card's mana cost. So yeah, pretty awesome stuff. And the artwork on there isn't too bad as well, either. Another board wipe, Mutilate. All creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn for each swamp you control. So it's essentially a board wipe. Yeah. Pestilence Demon. So this is the same as... This is the same as Pestilence, but it comes in the form of a demon this time around. So here he is. Costs 8 to get out there, but he's a flying. And Pestilence Demons deal 1 damage to each creature, each player. So if I deal 5 damage to the whole board, this guy will still be alive. But of course, if there are creatures with 6 or more life like this dude, then they will be alive as well. So that's a bit of a bummer, but there you go. Oh, yikes. Here's another land. So that makes it 4 lands in this. No, 44 lands in this deck. That's a bit overkill, I think. So I need to do something about that. But yeah, this is Swamp. Each opponent loses 1 life. Activate this ability only if you control 2 or more black permanents. So I won't be removing this. It's pretty cool to have this land, but I need to reduce the amount of land in this deck exponentially, I think. Phyrexian Etchings. It's a pretty old card. This it's got cumulative upkeep. But at the end of your turn, draw a card for each age counter on Phyrexian Etchings. When Phyrexian Etchings is put into a graveyard from play, you lose 2 life for each age counter on it. Yeah. So I've been getting to wonder if I need some no maximum hand size in this deck, but we'll see. Yeah, okay, so Price of Fame, it's a single target removal kind of thing, but it costs 2 less for if I cast it on a legendary creature or a commander. Destroy target creature. Surveil 2. And so that means look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put any number of them into the graveyard and the rest of the top of your library in any order. Yeah. Wow, another board wipe. So that's 4 board wipes total in this deck now. Destroy all creatures. Each player loses life equal to the number of creatures he or she controlled that were destroyed this way. And it costs 6. Okay. Pretty cool. Bloodleather of Aklazots costs only 4. If an opponent would lose life during your turn, they lose twice that much in life instead. Yeah. So that's also quite cool. And here we have a card that is absolutely insane. Rise of the Dark Realms. Put all creature cards from all graveyards into the battlefield under your control. So that means I can take over all graveyards creatures. Yeah. So that in itself can be a win. Yeah. Dread Presence. We're approaching the end here. Whenever a swamp enters the battlefield under your control, choose one. You draw a card and you lose 1 life. Dread Presence deals 2 damage to any target and you gain 2 life. Yeah. So there's a bit of stuff you can do with this card, and it's connected to the lands you put in play, so pretty cool. Bontu the Glorified. He could also be a commander, this dude, but I see no use for him in this deck, so. He's got Menace and he's indestructible, which is pretty good. Bontu the Glorified can't attack or block unless a creature died under your control this turn. But I can sacrifice another creature, so that triggers this dude. And each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Scry 1. Stick till några.
Jag har ganska snart kunna finika som tänkte ha klær. Skittet klær.
Ja. Hva så skitne klær tenker du på?
Bra, har den her.
Ok.
Så tar jeg etterpå.
Bra, grei det.
Grei det, ha det.
Ha bra. Sorry about that. It was just my daughter. I need to say goodbye to her. She's going to the store. Whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn. Yeah, so pretty cool. So I get to pay 50 life. Other Flux Reservoir deals 50 damage to target creature or player. Yeah, so I can kill a player, no problem. Okay, and here we have another legend. Razakath the Foul-Blooded. Flying, trample, pay 2 life, sacrifice another creature. Search your library for a card and put that card into your hand and shuffle your library. I already have the... I can have this as my commander, but he's a bit expensive, so that would be dumb to do that. In fact, I think I'll remove this guy from this deck because I already have this dude now, and he will do the job for me, I think. It would be simple, though, to just pay 2 life, but the cost is too great. It costs 8 to get him out there, and with commander attacks growing as he dies, he dies once, and then I have to pay 10 to get him out, because it's 2 every time you pay. So, yeah. He's going. I think I'll replace him with something else. If you would gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. That's pretty good. If you draw a card, accept the first one you draw on each of your draw stages. Draw 2 cards instead. So, yeah. Really good card. Yeah. And this was what I was going to show you, which is pretty good, which is pretty awesome. Do you see a pattern here? Remember a little bit earlier? Yeah. So this card says whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. Gud, det ringer Daniel och hör kan vill. Han ringer man. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. So if I have both of these in play, they trigger each other all the time. So that means I've won the game if both of these are in play. So let's say I gain 2 life. Target opponent loses that much life. That triggers this. When our opponent loses life, you gain that much life. And around and round and round we go. Yeah. So, awesome stuff. Next is this card right here. A bit annoying, but it's also quite cool because it's a combo card, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. During each player's upkeep, that player discards a card at random. Yeah. So when you discard a card, you put it in the graveyard, right? Yeah. But then I have this card. If Leyline of the Void is in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on the battlefield. And that's okay. If a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. And exile just basically means it leaves the game. Yeah. So I get to put cards in my graveyard with this. My opponents don't. So if I have both in play, then my opponents are pretty much screwed. They have to discard a card at random and exile it. I have to discard a card and just put it in my graveyard. So, but I also have to discard a card at random. So, yeah. Last but not least, we have Ghoul Raiser. Yeah. When Ghoul Raiser enters the battlefield, return a zombie card at random from your graveyard to your hand. And I don't got many zombies in here, which I'm very interested in returning to my hand. Let's see if I can find him, though. Where is he? Here we are. It's Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Yeah. So I return this guy and I do the same thing instead. Or once again. Yeah. So I gain life. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. That's basically it, man. And I got 44 life, or 44 lands, sorry, in this deck right now. So what I'm gonna do about that? Well, since I got this commander, I got lots of expensive creatures in here. But what if I change those creatures out with very cheap creatures instead? Well, I'm not going to do that, but hear me out. I'm going to change out my lands with cheap creatures. That was what I meant, really. So to start off, let's start with this one. It costs 4, so it's a little bit expensive. But if Gravebane zombies put into the graveyard from play, put Gravebane zombie on top of its owner's library. Yeah. And what's cool about that is that it gets to be put on top of my library instead of the graveyard. So then on my next turn, I draw this again and cast it again. And then I can use this again. I extort a creature, means sacrifice it. It goes in my graveyard, goes back on top of my library, and back and forth, and so forth we go. Yeah. Pretty cool, pretty awesome. So this is essentially a really powerful card with this deck. Yeah. The artwork could be better though, but you can't have everything, right? Yeah. Next we have this guy. He's if possible, Abyssal Gatekeepers put into a graveyard from play. Each player chooses and buries a creature he or she controls. So pretty cool card. Bury just means sacrifice, really, but this is an old card, so that's why it says bury. A zombie that costs 4, but when I play this, I can return target creature card from my graveyard to my hand. So, yeah. Also pretty good. So now 4, 4, and 2. Let's look at these last ones. This only costs 1. It's a rag dealer. It's just a 1/1, but I can remove up to 3 target cards in a single graveyard from the game by paying just 2 and tapping it. So if I want to become real annoying, I can just start removing cards from a graveyard. Another dude, Zombie Goblin. When Festering Goblin is put into a graveyard from play, target creature gets 1/1 until end of turn. And as you know, in life, it was a fetid, disease-ridden thing. In death, not much changed. Oh, funny. Okay. And what's this? It's a blood pet. Yeah, so looks like that. He's seen better days, I guess. But he only costs 1. And sacrifice blood pet, add 1 black mana to your mana pool. So I get to get 1 extra mana if I want, but I want to sacrifice him instead to draw a card, I think. That's better. And Plague Beetle, Swamp Walk. Yeah, so this guy, if an opponent controls a swamp, I can just attack him because he walks over swamps like it was nobody's business. Yeah, so there you go. The artwork could be a little bit better though, but you can't have everything. Yeah, okay. So there you go. There you've seen my life deck. Please consider becoming a member if you like my content and you enjoy what I do here, which turns out to be Magic the Gathering most of the time at the moment, which I'm having fun with and enjoying. So, yeah. And leave a comment below if you got some suggestions that you want to put in, if you got some other ideas for my life deck and something that's even more powerful that I didn't know about. Thank you very much for watching and have yourself a nice day. Take care. Bye-bye.